WrestleMania 42 is next weekend. Back at the scene of the crime last year, where John Cena left with Travis Scott after one of the worst main events in WrestleMania history. The night after one of the best. I don't want to ignore the fact that we got two great matches last year at WrestleMania with the night one triple threat and the women's triple threat that opened night two, which saw Io Sky enter as the women's world champion and leave as the women's world champion. And as I am recording this, she is not even on the card this year. Not in a match. Hopefully that will change on Monday, and they will make her against Asuka official, since both women teased it and literally cut promos on each other last week. Talking about see you in Las Vegas. Hopefully that'll get added. The story has been ticket sales, to the point where they have incorporated it into the actual television show. So for the people that are sick of hearing about it, too fucking bad. They decided to bring more attention to it. Blame them. They're going to have a lot of people there. They're going to have at least 40,000 people each night. That's no small feat. It's not like they're going to have 5,000 people in the building. But they are going to be far short of what they did in that same building 1 year ago, at least in terms of paid attendance. Like, if I were them, I would start handing out comps to all the casinos in Vegas right now to start giving out to their customers. The building holds 60,000 with the stage, which apparently they're going to be doing the stage reveal, I guess, on Friday. They're not going to come close to 60,000. I don't give a shit what they announce. It ain't going to be 60,000. Last year, they announced 61,000 for night one, 63,000 for night two. 2,000 people more for night two than night one. And they had claimed that night one was a sellout. So the math ain't mathin'. Whatever they announce, I would not take those numbers at face value, regardless. But by showtime, I'm sure it's going to look full. How it sounds is going to be a completely different story. But they're 18% behind where they were last year. Smackdown on Friday has the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which I am predicting will be won by Royce Keys, who debuted on Friday with a win over Berto. I'm also predicting that Berto will not be winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That's my bold prediction. Berto is not going to win the Battle Royal. And they're also giving us a street fight on SmackDown between the MFTs and the Wyatt Six, which I am absolutely devastated that I will not be here to watch. I'll be landing home from Vegas around that time, but I will be watching the Hall of Fame ceremony that night, which is streaming live on ESPN Unlimited at midnight Eastern. PW Insider says internally it is listed for 3 hours with Stephanie McMahon, AJ Styles, Demolition, Sid Vicious, Bad News Brown, and Dennis Rodman all being inducted. It's a strong class on the whole. Sid and Bad News, they will not be getting proper inductions because they are part of the legacy class. So basically, they're dead, so they don't get any speeches from anyone. But Sid's son the other day said that Seth, the kid with Down syndrome who used to live next door to Sid, Sid even brought him to the ring with him on an episode of Nitro in 1999 to be his coach, to be his manager for the night. He surprised Seth on a Zoom call this week with the news that he is going to the Hall of Fame and WrestleMania. And Seth was very excited about the news. That was very cool. If I had to guess the inductors, and I don't know if any of these have even been announced yet, if any inductors have been announced. I haven't seen it if they have. So these are just guesses from me. This is not anything that, has been said or I've heard. I would say Eric Bischoff or Kevin Nash would make the most sense for Dennis Rodman. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard to induct Demolition, right? There's history there. Arn, I think, would give a great speech. I'm going to say John Cena for AJ Styles, since Cena is going to be in town anyway to host the show. Host WrestleMania, not the Hall of Fame. And Triple H inducts his wife. I mean, that one would seem to be a slam dunk to me. Then we have WrestleMania Saturday, with the first hour simulcasting live on ESPN2. The two ESPN matches will be the Usos and LA Knight taking on Logan Paul, Austin Theory, and ISHO Speed, which is opening the show, and the unsanctioned match between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. And by the way, Drew and his wife just lost their cat, Chaz. I was very sorry to hear that. I would see a lot of photos that he would post on Instagram. I know he's a big cat dad. So again, very sorry to hear that. But the Usos in LA Knight against the Vision and IShow Speed. I'm going with the Usos in LA Knight. I mean, the death knell would be for IShow Speed to pin LA Knight. I put nothing past Paul Levesque in this case. But I'm going to go with the Usos in LA Knight for the win. IShow Speed is the one, I think, of all the celebrity involvement we have at WrestleMania this year, or the build-up to WrestleMania, he's the one that I like mind the least. I find him very entertaining. I think he has, he's done his part, as part of this angle. And again, I have infinite respect for him after he took that spear at the Rumble last year from Braun Breaker. And it's not like a main event feud or anything like that. It's a mid-card 6-man tag team match. The angle they shot at his house when LA Knight crashed, the stream and then threw him into his camera and everything. I thought that was entertaining. So I don't mind Speed. I really don't. There's a comment to clip. But no, I don't mind Speed. I don't think Speed's winning. I think that the Usos and LA Knight are going over here, as they should. And then as far as McIntyre and Fatu, unsanctioned, only the second unsanctioned match ever in WrestleMania history after Triple H and Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 33, which I don't remember being any great shakes. But these two are going to go out there, and it's going to be on ESPN too. I don't know how violent it's going to get on ESPN. Probably not too violent. But boy, I'm looking at this match, and I'm like, too bad we didn't get that fatal 4-way. For the WWE Championship. We could have had Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, and Jacob Fatu this weekend. And in hindsight, boy, that would have been a hell of a lot better. Although knowing them, they would have found some way to work McAfee into that regardless. But Drew is going to be going off to film his role in the next Highlander movie sometime in these next few weeks. And I don't know how long he'll be gone for. I mean, for all I know, he could be gone for a week. I don't know. But he's going off to film a movie role. So for that reason alone, I feel like Fatu's going to win this match. I still maintain it was not Drew McIntyre who kicked his teeth out. I think it was Randy Orton. I think that will eventually lead to a program with Orton and Fatu within the next few months. But even better, you know what? Maybe now they can say it was Pat McAfee who did it. Pat McAfee kicked Jacob Fatu's teeth out of his mouth. He did it to save the business. Maybe that'll be the new swerve. Stephanie Vicaire is going to defend the Women's World Championship against Liv Morgan. Now, on Raw Monday night, Stephanie attacked Liv from behind while Liv was having a conversation backstage with Roxanne Perez. And she hit her so hard that Liv's head and Roxanne's head collided in violent fashion. To the point where, when it happened, I wasn't so much worried for Liv as I was worried for Roxanne, because Liv's head went right into Roxanne's face so hard, and Roxanne went down, and I was like, she killed her. She just killed this poor girl. As it turned out, both of them have these giant goose eggs on their forehead. Liv posted photos of hers on social media, and it was just disgusting. And they were supposedly both placed in concussion protocol. There have been no updates since then about whether or not they actually were diagnosed with concussions or, what their status is. Now Liv's been out and about. I mean, she's fine. I saw she was at one of the basketball games the other day with Raquel Rodriguez, and she's been doing interviews. And so she seems fine. Roxanne's been a little more low profile, but she's not the one with a championship match at WrestleMania. The concern was, is Liv Morgan going to be okay? I think she will be. I don't think that this match is in any great jeopardy of not happening. But who wins, right? Who goes over here? I'm going with Liv Morgan. I think it works best, especially should Raquel eventually split off as a babyface from the Judgment Day, that she would feud with Liv for the championship potentially. Or, if my prediction comes true from earlier this year that Roxanne Perez is going to win the women's Money in the Bank briefcase, that could make for some interesting moments there with Roxanne walking around with that briefcase if they're both still part of the Judgment Day. Stephanie's reign, I like Stephanie Vicaire a lot, and she's a good wrestler. Her run on the main roster has been very underwhelming. It's sad. I look back at what she and Julia were doing in NXT for those few months they were there together and compare it to what they have, especially Julia, on the main roster. And I say that Julia is currently the United States champion, and I look at it and it's sad. It is sad to see the run that she's had and how she's just not over. And she's not even on the WrestleMania card. She's the one singles champion, basically, who does not have a title defense at WrestleMania. Stephanie's reign has been very underwhelming, and I think it would just make more sense to put the belt on Liv Morgan. Yeah, there's more storyline potential there. There's also storyline potential if Liv doesn't win and she gets cost a win, let's say by Raquel, because we've seen Liv Morgan play a role in Raquel Rodriguez losing other opportunities before, where Raquel has been in there with the champion. I believe Liv was the one to eliminate Raquel from the Royal Rumble. Could Raquel turn on Liv or play a role like accidentally on purpose, tries to help her, but it backfires and then Stephanie retains? Absolutely, I could see that happening. But I'm going to predict that the championship is being moved over to Liv Morgan. This run that Stephanie has been on is just, it's not hitting. Yeah, not for me, it's not. And maybe you need to get her in there with somebody like Becky Lynch. Maybe that would help kind of light a fire under things. Because, WWE is always going to give a priority to Becky and what she's doing. Becky hasn't worked with Stephanie. Maybe Stephanie just needs, a different opponent to work with. Liv just has more storyline stuff going on, I think, with her own, group. So I don't know, but I just feel like Liv is going to walk out with that championship. So I got to stick with her for my prediction. Speaking of Becky Lynch, she is going to be challenging AJ Lee for the women's Intercontinental title. This is AJ's first WrestleMania match in 11 years. But you look at the recent matches that they've been a part of. AJ beat her at WrestlePalooza in the mixed tag. AJ's team beat Becky's team in War Games. AJ beat Becky straight up to win the Intercontinental title at Elimination Chamber. I would say that Becky Lynch is due for a win over this woman. And I think it happens here. I think Becky regains the Intercontinental title. I think Jessica Carr is going to be the referee for their match again. I think she's going to factor into this finish in some way. Not that she's going to help Becky, but that there's going to be some sort of spot that backfires. Anyway, it leads to Becky winning the belt back. I think that's the way to go. Gunther, one-on-one with Seth Rollins. At this point, I'm just happy that they found a match for Gunther on the WrestleMania card. And how crazy is that to even say? Given the last, 6 months, 8 months, 9 months that this guy has had, and the last matches that we saw from Goldberg and Cena and AJ Styles, and the last face that they saw across the ring from them was Gunther, who has been on a tear ever since he started this whole career killer gimmick. And then at the beginning of last month, he dropped off the face of the earth because if reports are to be believed, he was going to be wrestling Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania, but Rey Mysterio was not medically cleared. And it just got to a point where it's like, we got to find something meaningful for this guy to do. Since we don't know when Rey's going to get clear. Rey is now cleared. But they went in a different direction. And so we have ended up with a match that really doesn't make a lot of sense. Like at all, storyline-wise. It really makes no sense for this match to even be happening. But to me, like, it's a match to get both men on the card because the people that they, in an ideal situation, they would have been working with either weren't cleared or they weren't ready to bring them back just yet, as far as Braun Breaker goes. Because he is supposedly clear. They just didn't want to rush him back into anything. They want to dedicate proper time to a feud with him and Seth Rollins, and I get that. That makes sense. So if nothing else, we're going to get what I expect to be an excellent professional wrestling match between these two. And then there'll be some shenanigans at the end of it that tie into storyline stuff. Braun Breaker is going to cost Seth Rollins this match. Gunther is going to win. And Gunther's run of dominance can then continue until he gets that favor back from Paul Heyman that he sort of alluded to last week, which will eventually be a match with Brock Lesnar. Gunther wins. We have a fatal four-way for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Nia Jax and Lash Legend, they defend their titles against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, and the Bella Twins. There is some question about whether or not Nikki Bella's ankle is going to be okay. She is still not medically cleared. If the Bellas are in the match, then there's nothing to worry about. If the Bellas are not going to be in the match, there are rumors that the Kabuki Warriors could be substituted into their spot. This is what I feared. This is what I said over a week ago. I said, I think that this may be the way it works out. This could very well be why we have not gotten an announcement yet of an Io Sky match at WrestleMania, because they're waiting on this, which to me would be incredibly fucking stupid. Because if, let's say, Nikki Bella can't get cleared, then yeah, you know what? It sucks for her sister. But you pull the Bellas and just keep it as a triple threat match. Why does it need to be a fatal four-way for the tag team titles? Especially if it's going to interfere with another potential story and another potential match that could be made for the show. You know, stick to that plan. If the Bellas can't go, the Bellas can't go. There's no need to substitute anybody into their place. You know, it's a championship match. So ideally, you would want a team in there that has earned the right to challenge for those titles. The story has been about Nia and Lash, Bayley and Lyra, Charlotte and Alexa. They've been going back and forth, all these different, and the Bellas, of course, all these different matches. And you're just going to substitute another random team in there. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. But it doesn't matter anyway, because I don't think that the Bellas are winning. I don't think Charlotte and Alexa are winning. I don't think Nia Jax and Lash Legend are holding on to their titles. I'm going with Bayley and Lyra Valkyria to win the women's tag team titles. Bayley really got fucked over last year when it came to the WrestleMania card. And they've had Lyra talking about that in storyline now in some of these promos, right? I'm going to go to Adam Pearce and get us added to this match. We got to make up for what happened to you last year at WrestleMania. And I think the ultimate makeup would be to put the tag team titles on these two women, who, by the way, are not a bad tag team. They're not a bad option to put the tag team titles on. But I think it'll be a nice moment for Bayley, a nice moment for the two of them. So I'm going with them to win the championships. And then in the main event, we have Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against against Randy Orton, with Pat McAfee in his corner. Clearly in his corner, because if you look at the graphic, they have added Pat McAfee to it like he's his manager. So Pat McAfee will be there. And man, you know, I look at this match on paper and I just think to myself, what could have been? What could have been on its own this great feud, rich with history, and after that vicious attack a few weeks ago by Randy Orton, you know, Cody could have come back just full of rage and fire and just ready to fucking murder this guy. How could you do this to me? Your brother, you stuck the knife in my back. And just like a deeply personal affair between these two has been turned into a clown show. Jelly Roll, there was no announcement made about Jelly Roll's involvement in this at WrestleMania, but boy, he was all over that show on Friday. He was all over that segment on Friday. He came out to, after he got laid out, I guess backstage by Orton, he got back up. He tried to come to Cody's aid. He got laid out again. Jelly Roll is going to be part of this match in some way. I don't know if he will officially be added in the corner of Cody Rhodes. I could see him coming out late in the match to neutralize Pat McAfee, which would be great because then we can get down to what this should have been all along, which is Cody and Randy one-on-one. So Pat's going to get involved here. Jelly's going to be involved here. It's all just so ridiculous. But remember the announcement that Pat McAfee made last week, where he said that if Randy Orton does not win at WrestleMania, that we will never see or hear from Pat McAfee again in this business. Now, to me, yes, he's a heel. He could just be lying. But to me, that telegraphs that we're going to get a title change here in this match. Because we all know that we ain't done with Pat McAfee. But even if he was done for the time being, like, we will see Pat McAfee again. We're probably going to see him at fucking Backlash next month. The best case scenario here would be they retcon this entire thing. They have Orton win number 15. And as soon as the match is over, he drops Pat McAfee with an RKO. He was a useful idiot. He got what he wanted out of him. He doesn't need him anymore. Do what Stone Cold said he wanted to do at WrestleMania 17. He wanted to call an audible on the heel turn and give Vince McMahon a stunner after he beat Rock to win the belt. I wish he would have. They can do that here. There's still time. Maybe Randy Orton could go into business for himself. Sorry, Pat. Change of plans. You're going down. But then that would just turn him into the biggest babyface in the company. If he drops McAfee with an RKO, that's it. Super babyface Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton is winning number 15. I don't know what kind of shenanigans may be involved. I mean, obviously it involve McAfee. Could there be some sort of big reveal at the end of all this? I mean, there's all kinds of speculation about other people that could be involved in this angle. And are we going to get a WWE versus TKO angle out of it and all of this stuff? All I can tell you is that I think Randy Orton, and I didn't feel this way a few weeks ago, but I do feel like Randy Orton is going to win number 15. And they're going to end night one with a big title change. So that's 7 matches. And then it's WrestleMania Sunday, with the first hour simulcasting live on ESPN with, in the opening contest, Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi. They have done everything right with this up to this point. It's hard to believe that this has been booked by the same people that have given us some of the other shit that we have seen going into WrestleMania. And I'm not even talking just about the McAfee stuff, but even just the way some of these other matches have been promoted and built, Rhea and Jade, all this stuff. They have gotten it right every step of the way so far with Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar. And the only way they could fuck it all up is by having Brock Lesnar win this match. And I think back to what John Cena said when he was interviewed. I think it was by Chris Van Vliet, where he said the idea of him losing to Brock at WrestlePalooza, which a lot of people were very upset about. But like it had to be done to, and I forgot exactly the words he used, but it was something to the effect of, to make Brock or to keep Brock strong, which again, I think it was make Brock. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like keep him strong for what? Keep him strong for what? Keep him strong for this. You wanted to keep Brock Lesnar strong by having him squash John Cena, okay, and just be Brock Lesnar. That's fine if it builds to him putting over the new guy on the biggest possible platform. This is not just another PLE match. This is not just another match of WrestleMania. They are opening for the first time in history, in the 40-plus year history of WrestleMania. A part of this show, the first hour of this show, is airing on ESPN. This is not ESPN 2. This is not ESPN 3. This is not ESPN Deportes. This is not ESPN Go Fuck Yourself. This is ESPN. So on the biggest possible platform, the right move to make would be to have Oba Femi in one night prove that he belongs. This is not a fluke. These people are not strutting and barking and chanting his name for no reason. They are ready to embrace this guy as the next big thing, which is what they called Brock back in the day. And the way you do that is by having him beat Brock Lesnar and then establish this is no fluke. This guy has arrived. This guy is the real deal. This guy is going places. And by no means is it a guarantee that Oba Femi is winning this match. Especially not if the idea is that they want Brock to go unbeaten until he has his last match, which could be at SummerSlam. I don't have a great feeling about it if that's the case. But the only way they could fuck up everything they've done up until this point is by having him go in there and lose. And I'm not saying that it would be the end of Oba Femi, but I'm saying that it would be a huge misstep if they did that. Oba Femi should win this match. Oba Femi, I predict, is going to win this match. Now, the other match on ESPN is the 6-way ladder match. I actually think it's very smart to open the show with these two matches. Brock and Oba is the match that feels, honestly, like the biggest main event out of all of the main events on this show, and this isn't even a main event, but it feels like one. It's been the best booked, best promoted match so far. And it's the battle between these two big guys that are going to go in there and beat the holy hell out of each other. It's the perfect match to open that show. And then from that, you go into the big car crash match, right? 6-way ladder match. There's going to be all kinds of insanity and high spots. Penta will be defending his Intercontinental Championship after retaining on the AAA show last night against Vikingo. Defending against Rusev, Javon Evans, JD McDonough, Dragon Lee, and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is cleared. He is back. He is also 50 years old. And his first match back is a multi-man ladder match. Good luck, Rey Mysterio. But Rey Mysterio is not winning the Intercontinental. I mean, it would be ridiculous if he won the championship. It would be ridiculous, frankly, if anybody other than, in my opinion, anybody other than Penta or Javon Evans were to walk away as the champion. If Javon Evans was to walk out as the champion, what a great moment for him. And I feel like he's going to be like a human highlight reel out there. I can't be mad about Javon Evans winning this match. What would bother me, though, is that Penta has not had long enough with this championship. Penta should not be losing the title this soon. It's like the same way I felt about Ciampa with the TNT title in AEW, right? He had 11 days with it, and then they took it away from him. Why? Didn't make any sense to me. Penta's going to win this match. I think it would be a mistake to take that championship off of him so soon. He just won it. Why would you take it off of him? Like, Javon Evans, you'll have plenty of opportunities to belt up Javon Evans. You don't have to rush the championship onto him just because it's WrestleMania. Penta should have his run. He's super over. He just won the championship. Don't take the title away from him. I mentioned the AAA show last night. I saw that brawl. It was like a show-long brawl, but the way it paid off there towards the end with El Grande Americano Gable and El Grande Americano Kaiser was tremendous, and it led to Kaiser announcing or throwing the challenge out to a mask versus mask match between the two of them, which at one time I had predicted for WrestleMania. And they didn't say it was going to be at WrestleMania. I assume it was announced for a future AAA show because after the reaction this got, I mean, these American crowds, they don't deserve it. Like, you got to do that match in Mexico. I don't want to see this match at WrestleMania. I want to see this match in front of a hot crowd south of the border. Because these two guys, like Gable, got so much heat last night when he came out. And Kaiser is super, I mean, it is ridiculous how over he is with this gimmick. Like, it would not make any sense right now to do this match at WrestleMania or on Raw or anything like that. You got to do this on a AAA show. I'm sorry. I do have one critique, though, of this great brawl that they had last night. The only thing that could have made that brawl last night even better, Pat McAfee. Not enough Pat McAfee last night. We have Demon Finn Balor taking on Dominic Mysterio. And on commentary, we had Wade Barrett, when they were running down the card on Smackdown the other night, mentioned that Balor, when he's the Demon, he's practically unbeatable. Except for the fact that the last two times we have seen the Demon, he lost both of those matches. The idea of him going in there and after all these years, dusting off the Demon paint to lose for a third straight time is, I mean, I would say absurd. Laughable, totally something I could see WWE doing. But yeah, I mean, that would be pretty fucking terrible. Demon Balor for the win. This should be the easiest prediction to make on the entire show. Demon Balor for the win. Sami Zayn is defending the United States Championship against Trick Williams. The United States Championship that he just recently won back from Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes, by the way, off the WrestleMania card. For all the work he's put in over the last few months, and he's been one of the shining stars on that SmackDown brand. Some great matches, has really gotten himself over as a babyface. It was not enough to earn himself a spot on the WrestleMania card. He lost the title to Sami Zayn. He already got his rematch. He lost that clean. Clean, despite what some people will say. Yes, it was a clean loss. And so there was no reason to add him into this match and make it a triple threat. And so he will not be a part of this. He's not going to interfere in this. He's not going to have anything to do with this. My idea that I started talking about a few weeks ago, and I know now there's rumors and reports about this. I've been pushing this now for weeks. Because at first people were talking about a double turn with Cody and Randy. But I'm like, it makes more sense with Sami and Trick. And I think there's a very real possibility that we are going to get the kickoff, at least the kickoff to this, on Sunday. And here's why. You see and hear the reaction to Sami Zayn. The reaction to Sami has not been great now for a few months. Really, the first time that it really stuck out to me was the Royal Rumble. They were in Saudi. And Sami's always super over there. And he went out there to wrestle Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. And the reaction to Sami was very lukewarm. The reaction to the match was very lukewarm. People didn't buy into the idea that Sami Zayn was actually going to win this championship. And to be fair, it was Drew's first title defense, so of course you knew he wasn't going to lose. But Sami Zayn's character has gotten as stale as bread that has been sitting out for fucking 4 weeks. It's no wonder that people are sick and tired of Sami Zayn. He goes out there, he looks so depressed. And he's always, whining and complaining on the show about something, playing victim, or you got Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton yelling at him and telling him that maybe you need to change. Maybe that's why you're in the rut that you're in. And he's always so frustrated. There's no reason to cheer for Sami Zayn. He's annoying. He's an annoying babyface. And nobody wants to cheer for that. So the reactions have gotten progressively worse. People like Carmelo Hayes. So when he beat Carmelo, that just made it worse. People like Trick Williams, even though he's supposed to be a heel and he's so arrogant and cocky and full of himself, and you should want to see somebody knock his block off. But from the moment that they hit his music and he comes out with that great entrance, they chant "whoop that trick," and they love the guy. He's super charismatic. He's fun to watch. He's fun to listen to. The exact opposite of what Sami Zayn has been. So it's no wonder that people are reacting to these two in diametrically, different ways. It was as bad as it's ever been on Friday. Sami came out, he was booed. This was not light boos. He was fucking booed. Trick Williams came out with Lil Yachty. He was cheered. And Sami was in his promo just saying, like, what did I do? Now they're incorporating it into the story. What did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve this kind of reaction? He goes, well, I know my fans. I got my ride or die fans out there. He got booed even more. Every time this man spoke, the boos got progressively worse. You don't need to do much to really turn, like, quote unquote, turn them. But it really only works if Sami retains here. Because that's the best way to put more heat on Sami Zayn, is to have him win. And he has to win by nefarious means. He can't just go in there and win with a haluva kick. Okay, that would be the worst thing you could do. He has to win by taking a shortcut that you would not expect this version of Sami Zayn to take, right? Because he's so righteous and trying to do the right thing and be a good guy. If he's going to win, he's got to cheat. Whether he uses the ropes, whether he uses a weapon behind the referee's back, whether he hooks the tights, whether he rakes the eyes, whatever it is. He wins by nefarious means. I'm predicting a Sami Zayn win here, and I think that's absolutely the right call. And what that will do is it'll accomplish two things. Number one, it will prolong their program, because you could drag this out for a few more months. It will put more heat on Sami Zayn to sort of solidify the heel turn. And it will drive people even more towards Trick, without Trick having to change anything about his character. He doesn't have to suddenly be a babyface. He doesn't have to really act any differently. He doesn't have to cut promos in a different way. He can continue to be himself. The people will just naturally gravitate towards him because they know he was screwed and they fucking hate Sami Zayn. So make Sami one of the biggest heels on Smackdown. And by the time Trick does beat him to win that title, he'll be one of the biggest fan favorites. So when I say double turn, it really is the beginnings of one. And I think it starts here. But to do it the right way, and I think to get it to work properly, Sami Zayn has to win this. I don't see the rush in having to put the belt on Trick Williams here. It works better if Sami wins. We have Jade Cargill against Rhea Ripley for the WWE Women's Championship. People are not going to like me very much here. I'm promoting Sami Zayn's going to win. Jade Cargill's going to win. But yes, I think Jade Cargill is going to win. I think she's going to walk in as the champion. I think she's going to walk out as the champion. They just put Michin and B-Fab with her. And I know in the big picture, they're not really considered serious players on that roster. But still, she's surrounded herself, right, with some backup. Rhea Ripley took them both out on SmackDown on Friday. And she may well have Io Sky in her corner, especially if Io doesn't have a match on this show. Now, Jade Cargill's run as champion has been unremarkable. It took over 100 days before they even had her defend the title, which is completely ridiculous. The SmackDown women's division has been fucking decimated for a while now. And the idea of keeping the belt on Jade for another 6 months or something is like, oh man, it doesn't seem like that's going to help matters. But also, if you put the belt on Rhea, yeah, you could say Rhea is better than Jade, or a better option than Jade. That doesn't magically make the SmackDown women's division better either. You still have to, use the people that you have properly, but also call up some new faces or get back some new faces. Which brings me to Bianca Belair. Now, Bianca Belair had surgery on her finger a couple of months ago. It really wasn't that long ago. I saw the initial videos she posted of her rehab, which just looks excruciating. And she hasn't really posted any updates since then. And there's been rumors flying around. There was one report, it might have come from Coach, about she might get her finger amputated, which is just such fucking nonsense. I don't know where people pull this. They pulled this out of their ass, I think. There's been no updates on Bianca Belair. That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. Maybe things are going well and they're getting ready for her to come back. Maybe things aren't going so well. We don't know. But I'm going to say this. This is my bit of fantasy booking here. We are going to see the return of Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. She's going to come out during this match. And again, Meech and BFAB, I'm sure they'll be there. They'll try to get involved. EO may be there, right? But it's still 2-on-1. Bianca Belair is going to return. And everybody thinks that she's coming out to even the odds, right, and help out Rhea Ripley. She's not coming out to help out Rhea Ripley. She's coming out to attack Io Sky and to attack Rhea Ripley. And she's going to assist Jade in retaining her women's title. Now, you might ask, why would she do this? Well, why has she been out for a year? This WrestleMania is going to mark exactly 1 year since the last time we saw Bianca Belair in the ring. Why? Because Rhea Ripley landed on her fucking hand and just has given her nothing but problems ever since with her knuckle and her finger and just mangled her fucking hand, and she hasn't been able to wrestle. And she lost that match, by the way. She lost to Rhea and Io in that match. And she was injured and put on the shelf. She lost a year of her career. She hasn't forgotten about that. She holds it against them. She has every reason in the world to go after Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. And so she and Jade are still going to be together for a while. I'm not saying that eventually there won't be some sort of rift that forms and we do get Bianca against Jade, but I think that that's coming a lot farther in the future than anybody thinks. And in the meantime, you get Rhea, or not Rhea, but you get Bianca and Jade and then Meechin and BFAB. And you've got your little crew there. Now, that might mean that Rhea Ripley is going to be staying on SmackDown. I don't know what that means for Io Sky, but that's my little bit of fantasy booking there. Where it would actually make more sense, if you think about it, for her to be against Rhea and not come out and do something to assist Rhea. And in the main event, CM Punk against Roman Reigns. First time ever that this version of the World Heavyweight Championship is being defended in the Night 2 main event of WrestleMania. So for all the people last year who were like, CM Punk didn't get a real WrestleMania main event because it's Night 1, it's not Night 2. As if The Rock being in the WrestleMania main event a couple of years ago wasn't a real WrestleMania main event. Get the fuck out of here. But for all those people now, they have been silenced because CM Punk will officially get his Night 2 WrestleMania main event. My fear is that Pat McAfee is going to be involved, and I'm not joking when I say this. Pat McAfee is going to be involved in this as well, given the shots that rang out this week with him and CM Punk. They've been taking shots at each other. And if that happens, I could see him and Randy Orton both screwing CM Punk out of the World Heavyweight title. Maybe with the idea that Roman Reigns, he fits the bill of what McAfee's been talking about, right? He fits the mold of what a real champion should look like, not some corporate stooge like Cody and not some tatted up hypocrite like CM Punk, not some 5'5" guy wrestling in a 45-minute Iron Man. I still have no idea where that came from. But Roman really, he looks the part, right? He's the guy. And now we're getting into fantasy booking a potential TKO versus WWE scenario, which honestly doesn't even sound appealing to me. Nor does, if that doesn't happen, another Bloodline reunion. I know there were people out there that get a tingle up their spine when they think of the possibility of an OG Bloodline reunion here. No, thank you. I'd rather see no Roman Reigns title win at WrestleMania, with another championship that he's never around to defend. We have been there before. We know what that looks like. And it worked for them last time. Business-wise, they did big business with the tribal chief leading the bloodline as the undisputed champion, right? The bloodline was very successful. I don't need to see an encore. I think the Usos are going to get involved here. Now, whether they try to help Roman and it backfires, or they try to help Roman, but then they swerve him and they turn on him, I don't know. But I do think they're going to play a role in this in some way. And I believe that CM Punk is going to leave WrestleMania still the World Heavyweight Champion. So I think Randy Orton is going to win the WWE title, but CM Punk is going to retain his World Heavyweight title. Now, there has been a lot of people speculating about the possibility that next year we might finally get The Rock against Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia WrestleMania 43. Given Punk's shots at The Rock in his promo on Raw this week, it would make sense for The Rock to play a role here in the finish of this match and give his cousin the assist to win the title. And by the time we get to WrestleMania next year, if they want to do Rock against Roman, I mean, they could always book a falling out between them. I'm not saying it has to be for the championship either. But again, I don't like doing this because this is getting into Rock territory, which is always a very dangerous thing to do because we saw what happened last year where he showed up, he got people very excited, and then he dipped. And that played a role in how fucking awful the WrestleMania stuff ended up being last year. Right? Rock's a busy guy. He can only be around so much. So anytime you start talking about, oh, maybe The Rock will show up, The Rock will get it, even if The Rock does show up, we have no idea to what extent he would even be around. Because the minute he shows up and the final boss is back, people get excited again, right? That final boss character was great. And people start thinking, oh man, I can't wait to see him. What's he going to say on TV this week? Or what role is he going to play at Backlash? Or, where is this story going to go? And then inevitably they will end up disappointed when he is not around. It's like they use him as a tool for that viral moment or to get from point A to point B. And then it's like, okay, my job is done here. It's like exactly what we saw last year. We need you, Rock. We need you to help sell some more tickets for the Elimination Chamber, right? Mission accomplished. And we need you. We're going to have you as part of this major angle where John Cena is going to turn heel. And we're going to get that visual of the two of you standing side by side. This amazing moment, right? You helped get us to that point. And then he left. And it's like, okay, now it's in your hands. Now you got to finish the story all by yourself, right? Rock is not needed here. People will be very excited if he shows up at the end of night one. They'll be very excited if he shows up maybe at the end of night two. And then reality will set in. And we're going to be right back to where we were last year. So I'm not getting into the business of predicting a Rock appearance on the show. I'm just telling you, if it happens, how it inevitably is going to play out. And be very, very careful if you get your hopes up to see Rock make an appearance at WrestleMania. Now, there was somebody, Nicholas, shout out to Nicholas, who sent me an email. And I saw the subject line. It said, The Rock wants another soul. And his bit of fantasy booking here was, Rock couldn't get Cody's soul last year, so he took one from Pat McAfee. Promised him, movies, the next Rambo, whatever, and promised them a whole bunch of other things. And so we find out that McAfee is doing what he's doing because he took The Rock's offer. The Rock bought Pat McAfee's soul. And since they're not going to get Ari Emanuel as an on-screen character, it would bring it all back to The Rock, right? Hey, you know what? Could I see something like that being the case? Sure. It's not the most out there idea. If The Rock wants another soul, have him bring Soul Ruka to the main roster and have her kick Cody in the dick like everybody else does, okay? Otherwise, no. I don't want more souls. So that's 6 matches. Maybe they add Io against Asuka here, but honestly, at this point, it's more likely she's going to be a part of the Rhea and Jade match. But they also have the Hall of Fame intros. They usually trot those guys out there on night 2. John Cena is the host. So there could be some kind of segment with him. I could see him and Danhausen doing something dumb. Just because there's 6 matches doesn't mean that they're adding more matches. There could be a segment. The biggest question to me, does John Cena wear the hat and the jorts? He promised we would never see him again in that after he retires. Is he going to go back on his word? Or is he going to show up in a suit and tie? But night 2 looks to be the stronger of the 2 nights. These 2 shows, though, they're going to be made or broken by how they book those main event finishes. It almost doesn't even matter. Like, you could have great matches on, night 1 and night 2, and people will be talking about what the finish is to Brock and Oba. But it really comes down to these main events. How do these main events end? How does night one end? How does night two end? That is what people are going to be talking about when this WrestleMania is over. And Cody Rhodes, weeks ago, before the Pat McAfee crap started, made a comment that he was making a bold prediction that this WrestleMania would be the best WrestleMania, or one of them, of all time. And look, if your expectations for WrestleMania are low coming into the show this year, that might be the best way, honestly, to walk into it. Because I think the talent will go out there and do what the talent does. As long as they're given the time to go out there to do what they do, they can go out there and have some really kick-ass matches. And this could end up being a much better show than people are expecting it to be. Because I feel like there are a lot of people who are just very disillusioned with the WWE product right now and the build to this WrestleMania. They're not terribly excited maybe about WrestleMania. That doesn't mean it will end up being a bad WrestleMania. I do think you go into it, you keep an open mind. I'm not happy with a lot of the shit that they're doing right now. I've made that very clear. And I think what they have done up to this point, they have sabotaged one of their WrestleMania main events. But that doesn't mean that when this WrestleMania is over, I won't be sitting here going, man, that was a fucking great show. Or that was a hell of a lot better than I was expecting it to be. Regardless, despite all of the stuff that we've seen up until this point. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that the matches deliver and that we can get some genuinely interesting and exciting storyline stuff coming out of this show that will lead us into the spring. Because WWE television, especially on Fridays in particular, more so than Mondays, but on Fridays, the television has been horrendous. And what I would like to see are stories that are set up now to bleed over into the coming months that will help make the television feel more interesting and feel more exciting and not make me, when I'm watching it, sit here and wince and cringe at what I am seeing and hearing. Because just because they try something out of the box, just because they're trying something different does not mean that it is good. What we have been getting on Smackdown has not been good, is the opposite of good. And I'm hoping that they could change that. There's no indication that that's going to change, but I'm hoping that they could change that and get their shit together because it has been awful. And they're doing a disservice to their own talent by producing television that is as bad as it has been on Friday nights. Something has to change coming out of this WrestleMania.